They say every city has its shadows. But San Francisco's shadows weren't just dark. They were terrifying. In the late 1960s, a figure emerged from the mist, someone who would go down in history, not only for his crimes, but for the way he played, with the very people sworn to protect the innocent. He wasn't just a killer. He was a writer, a manipulator, a ghost who carved fear into the heart of California. The world would know him as the Zodiac Killer. The beginning of terror on the night of December 20th, 1968. Teenagers Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday drove out to Lake Herman Road in Vallejo, California. It was supposed to be a simple date, innocent, quiet, away from the noise of the city. But what awaited them was something no one could have predicted. A car pulled up, the driver stepped out, and within moments, the sound of gunshots shattered the silence of the night. David Faraday was shot in the head. Betty Lou Jensen tried to run, but collapsed only a few feet away, bullets tearing through her back. It was the beginning of a nightmare that wouldn't just haunt families, but an entire state. A killer with a signature. This wasn't just random violence. This was precision, cold, calculated murder. And it wouldn't be the last. On July 4th, 1969, barely 6 months later, another couple, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau, were sitting in a parked car at Blue Rock Springs Park. Fireworks lit up the sky. But what came next was far from celebration. The same figure returned. Gunfire ripped through the car. Michael was wounded, but Darlene died at the scene. But this time, the killer did something different. He picked up a phone and called the police himself. His words were chilling. Greater than, "I want to report a double murder. If you go 1 mile east on Columbus Parkway, you'll find kids in a brown car. They were shot with a 9mm Luger. I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye." He wasn't just killing anymore. He was performing. Letters of fear. Weeks later, newspapers across the Bay Area began receiving letters. Handwritten, taunting, filled with details only the killer could know. And then his signature. A circle with a cross through it. The symbol of the Zodiac. Each letter came with demands. Publish his words on the front page, or he would kill again. The press complied, and readers stared at the strange ciphers puzzles that promised to reveal his identity. But behind every word was something more terrifying. A man who enjoyed not just killing, but watching the world scramble in fear. The cipher that shocked America. The first cipher known today as the 408 cipher was cracked by a schoolteacher and his wife. It revealed the killer's twisted philosophy. He claimed that murder gave him slaves for the afterlife. This wasn't just about blood. It was about immortality, control, and terror. But one thing was missing. The killer never revealed his real name, and that single mystery would ignite decades of obsession. More than just murders, the Zodiac wasn't consistent. His attacks weren't predictable. Sometimes he used a gun, sometimes a knife, sometimes he simply threatened. But always, he made sure the world was watching. He wanted the spotlight. He wanted fear to spread like wildfire, and it worked. San Francisco became a city on edge. Couples avoided late-night drives. Families locked their doors earlier. And police officers, they weren't just hunting a killer. They were being hunted by his words. Imagine this for a second. You're sitting in your living room on a quiet Sunday morning, coffee steaming in your mug, newspaper in your hand. You unfold the crisp paper, expecting sports scores or the latest headlines. Instead, you see something that freezes the blood in your veins. A cryptic letter, written by a man who claims to have killed and promises to kill again. That was the reality in California during the late 1960s. This was not just a killer. This was someone who wanted recognition, someone who craved the spotlight. He called himself the Zodiac. The first letters on August 1st, 1969, just weeks after the brutal attack at Blue Rock Springs Park that left Darlene Ferrin dead and Michael Mageau seriously wounded. 3 major newspapers, the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald received letters. Each letter was nearly identical, but each carried something chilling. A confession to the murders, specific details only the killer could have known, and most haunting of all, a strange cipher, a puzzle of symbols and letters. The killer demanded that these ciphers be printed on the front page of each newspaper, or else he would cruise around all weekend killing lone people in the night. It was the first time the world truly met the Zodiac, a game of codes the cipher later called the 408. Cipher was a bizarre puzzle filled with symbols, circles, crosses, and geometric shapes. At first, it looked like nonsense, but within days, a schoolteacher couple, Donald and Betty Harden, cracked it. The solution revealed the Zodiac's twisted mindset. He wrote about killing people as fun, compared it to hunting animals, and claimed that his victims would become his slaves in the afterlife. But there was something strange. His solution ended abruptly, unfinished. Experts believe that either the cipher wasn't complete, or he intentionally left it unsolved. This was his style, not just murder, but manipulation. The Zodiac symbol, the letters introduced something else, a circle with a cross through it, simple yet unforgettable. This symbol would become the Zodiac's signature, his calling card, a mark of terror that haunted California. Every time people saw that symbol, it meant another letter, another victim, another threat. Escalation. As weeks passed, the Zodiac didn't fade. He grew louder. In another letter, he mocked the police, saying, "Greater than when they do not crack it, I will reveal my identity." But of course, he never did. Instead, his letters became a ritual. He sent taunts, ciphers, even greeting cards, each one dripping with menace. The public became obsessed. Newspapers published his words. Radio shows debated him. The killer wasn't hiding anymore. He was performing. A killer who loved the spotlight. And like most killers who hid in the shadows, the Zodiac thrived on attention. Every letter was carefully crafted to keep fear alive. Every cipher was another challenge, daring the world to play his game. But behind the theatrics, something more terrifying. His ability to disappear. For every letter, there was a body. For every cipher, a new mystery. And yet, he remained untouchable. The legacy of fear. By the end of 1969, California was gripped in paranoia. Couples avoided secluded areas. Parents warned their kids to stay in groups. The Zodiac had successfully turned murder into theater, and the entire state was his audience. And the letters? They were just the beginning, because what came next would be even darker. They say some monsters vanish into the shadows, leaving behind nothing but fear, confusion, and a trail of unanswered questions. The Zodiac Killer was one of them. For years, he taunted police, mocked the media, and terrorized California. But by the time the world thought it was closing in, he slipped through the cracks of history. This is the chilling conclusion. The unbreakable codes. By the early 1970s, investigators were drowning in letters, ciphers, and threats. Each note promised new horrors, more attacks, more blood. Some codes were cracked, but others remained mysteries. Entire teams of cryptographers, mathematicians, and puzzle experts worked day and night. Still, some of Zodiac's most haunting ciphers stood undefeated, like silent trophies of his genius or madness. The truth was, Zodiac didn't just kill for pleasure. He killed to create chaos, to prove he was smarter than everyone chasing him. Every unsolved symbol was his way of saying, "I control the game, not you." The suspects who were in the police questioned countless men. One suspect, Arthur Leigh Allen, seemed to fit the profile perfectly. Violent tendencies, strange obsessions, and chilling coincidences linking him to the crimes. But every time investigators thought they had enough to corner him, the evidence slipped away. Handwriting didn't match. Fingerprints didn't match. DNA wasn't enough. There were others. Two men with shady pasts, eerie similarities, and suspicious alibis. Yet none ever faced trial. Zodiac remained an invisible phantom, always one step ahead. The disappearing killer. By the 1970s, the letters slowed. Sightings grew fewer. It was as if Zodiac had simply evaporated. Some believed he died. Others thought he moved, changed identities, or was quietly living an ordinary life, blending in with neighbors who never knew the monster next door. But one thing was certain. his shadow never faded. Every unsolved murder in the Bay Area carried whispers of his name. Every coded letter reignited old fears. The legacy of fear decades passed, but Zodiac's legend only grew stronger. True crime authors, journalists, and even Hollywood couldn't resist the chilling mystery. He became more than a killer. He became a myth, a symbol of evil that hides in plain sight. And the scariest part? He was never caught, which means somewhere, at some time, the Zodiac may have walked past his hunters, smiling that same smile he used to lure victims in the dark. The final question, what makes Zodiac so terrifying, isn't just the brutality of his crimes. It's the silence that followed, the mystery, the power of unanswered questions. Because in the end, Zodiac didn't just steal lives, he stole closure. Even now, more than half a century later, his ciphers still haunt, his crimes still echo, and his shadow still lingers. Perhaps the truth is hidden in plain sight. Or perhaps Zodiac took his secrets to the grave. The Zodiac Killer remains one of America's greatest mysteries. Who was he? Why did he stop? And will we ever truly know the face behind the mask? If this story gripped you, don't forget to subscribe for more chilling true crime documentaries. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and never stop searching for the truth.